I am continuing my reading. What I'm doing in this series is to read through the entire standard works of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This consists of the Bible, the Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, and the Pearl of Great Price. I am reading in a chronological order of events, not according to publication or volume, so I will be skipping around a bit as I move along. So I'm going to return to Daniel now. One chapter. I'm going to read chapter 4 in Daniel. But let us refresh our memories on the timeline here. Because we just read Ezekiel, and his last prophecy that we read was in the 12th year. That's the 12th year of the captivity, so be a year after the destruction of the city of Jerusalem. But Daniel was taken captive in the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, which was 8 years before the time of King Zedekiah. And therefore it would have been 19 years before the destruction of Jerusalem and 20 years before our last prophecy from Ezekiel. Daniel has been in captivity now at least 20 years. Chapter 4 doesn't give us the timing. It doesn't tell us when this happened, as far as I can tell. We'll find out if I missed anything when we read it, but Daniel's been in captivity for about 20 years, maybe a little more. Now, I estimated that he was about 16 when he was taken captive, which means he is now in his mid-30s. That is when this takes place. Or at least, he is in his mid-30s at the time that Jerusalem is destroyed. He could be as old as maybe 40. Now, Nebuchadnezzar, he's king for just over 40 years. He's king like 43 years. So, to be 25 years into the reign of King Nebuchadnezzar, that's nothing. That's about halfway through the reign of King Nebuchadnezzar. You remember, Nebuchadnezzar became king in the same year that Daniel's taken captive. It's all happened. Nebuchadnezzar becomes king, and he invades Jerusalem and takes the captives. That's the first time that happens. But so we got about another 20 to 25 years of Nebuchadnezzar's reign. Daniel is now in his mid-30s. Remember, he was about 16 or maybe 17 or 18 when he interpreted Nebuchadnezzar's first dream of the great statue. And now he's been in Babylon, he's been a magistrate, he's been in the Babylonian government now for about 20 years. Now, they might not have actually appointed him as a magistrate until he was in his 20s, so maybe he's only been there for 15 years as an actual member of the government. But it's been a while. Daniel's been here a while. Now, I put this chapter shortly after the destruction of Jerusalem because I think it thematically fits in this area. This story kind of fits with Nebuchadnezzar has just destroyed Jerusalem, and now this is his second dream. Also, I don't have a lot of videos planned for today, so it's not an incredibly long chapter, but I'm going to split it into 2 videos just for the fun of it. Make it nice and short. So for this first video, we're going to read just verses 1 through 18, approximately half of the chapter. I like short videos. I've already been rambling for 3 minutes, so. Daniel chapter 4. Daniel interprets Nebuchadnezzar's dream of the great tree and of the king's fall and madness. The king learns that the Most High rules and sets the basest of men over earthly kingdoms. Nebuchadnezzar the king, unto all people, nations, and languages that dwell in all the earth, peace be multiplied unto you. I thought it good to shew the signs and wonders that the high God hath wrought toward me. How great are his signs, and how mighty are his wonders. His kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and his dominion is from generation to generation. Now this is interesting. Note here that this is not being told from Daniel's point of view. This is a record of King Nebuchadnezzar. This would indicate to me that Nebuchadnezzar is the one that actually wrote this. He wrote this like a letter that he then sent out to all of his princes. And Daniel simply inserted it into his records. So Daniel's keeping a record of the big events of his life, and he figured that this letter was a good addition to that. Verse 4. I, Nebuchadnezzar, was at rest in mine house, and flourishing in my palace. I saw a dream which made me afraid, and the thoughts upon my bed, and the visions of my head troubled me. Therefore made I a decree to bring in all the wise men of Babylon before me, that they might make known unto me the interpretation of the dream. Then came in the magicians, the astrologers, the Chaldeans, and the soothsayers, and I told the dream before them, but they did not make known unto me the interpretation thereof. It's very similar to the dream of the great image, the great statue. He has a dream, it troubles him, but none of the pagan guys can interpret the dream. Very, very similar. Verse 8. But at the last Daniel came in before me, whose name was Belteshazzar, according to the name of my God, and in whom is the spirit of the holy gods. And before him I told the dream, saying, Belteshazzar, master of the magicians, because I know that the spirit of the holy gods is in thee, and no secret troubleth thee, tell me the visions of my dream that I have seen, and the interpretations thereof. Thus were the visions of my head in my bed. I saw, and behold, a tree in the midst of the earth, and the height thereof was great. The tree grew and was strong, and the height thereof reached unto the heavens. The tree grew and was strong, and the height thereof reached unto heaven, and the sight thereof to the end of all the earth. The leaves thereof were fair, and the fruit thereof much, and in it was meat for all. The beasts of the field had shadow under it, and the fowls of the heaven dwelt in the boughs thereof, and all flesh was fed of it. I saw in the visions of my head upon my bed, and behold, a watcher and an holy one came down from heaven. He cried aloud and said thus, Hew down the tree, and cut off his branches, shake off his leaves, and scatter his fruit. Let the beasts get away from under it, and the fowls from his branches. Nevertheless, leave the stump of his roots in the earth, even with a band of iron and brass, in the tender grass of the field. And let it be wet with the dew of heaven, and let his portion be with the beasts in the grass of the earth. Let his heart be changed from man's, and let a beast's heart be given unto him, and let 7 times pass over him. This matter is by the decree of the watchers, and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will, and setteth up over it the basest of men. This dream I, King Nebuchadnezzar, have seen. Now thou, O Belteshazzar, declare the interpretation thereof, for as much as all the wise men of my kingdom are not able to make known unto me the interpretation, but thou art able, for the spirit of the holy gods is in thee. Nebuchadnezzar is the man my mom calls her favorite pagan. We see that he recognizes Daniel's power. He recognizes God. In the opening of this, he says he wants to declare unto all people the great signs and wonders of the Most High God. Or not the most, of the High God. So he recognizes that God is the highest of all gods, but he still believes in all the other ones. He's just added Jehovah as the greatest of all gods. And he recognizes Daniel's ability to interpret dreams. He recognizes, but he doesn't say that Daniel has the spirit of God. He has the spirit of gods. So he's still in his pagan ways, but he still recognizes God, and he is a guy that is willing to be taught in some ways. And this is an interesting dream. He's got this giant tree. It soars into the sky. The height is so high that the entire earth can see it. And then the animals are coming to rest into the shade. The birds are nesting in the branches. The leaves give you nice shade. Has all the fruit on it is enough to feed the entire world. And then a guy comes down from heaven and says, chop it down. Destroy it. Except leave the stump. We're going to leave the stump. And then he says, let him eat grass like the beasts, and let 7 times pass on him. All of this, it's a very odd dream. I can't blame the Babylonian guys for not understanding it. Let a beast's heart be given unto him. So we're going to read the interpretation of this dream in the next video. So we're going to leave that here, and I'll see you there.